You're listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Cult of Campbell. I'm Ty.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Ben.
And today we are doing a very special film.
Yes, we are.
2005.
Special as in, this is the type that rides on those very short buses to school.
Right. This is 2005's Man with the Screaming Brain.
That's right. It was written by Bruce Campbell. He was also involved in coming up with the story along with a few other people, including Sam Raimi and David Goodman. He produced it. It was also directed by, guess who? Bruce Campbell, and starring Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell. And Ted Raimi.
And Ted Raimi. Yes. And
yeah, this is...
So we watched it, and we're gonna get into it with you guys.
Yes. This had a budget of $3 million as well.
Oh, $3 million.
$3 million.
Okay.
So
$3 million.
it's all on the screen, baby.
Yes, it is. They left none of it behind.
Let's go ahead and let's talk a little more about this in our next segment. Let's get groovy.
Grab your boomstick and fire up the Delta. It's time for ACTION. Join the Cult of Campbell. Groovy.
And if you're lucky a little later, I'll let you play with my boomstick.
We're back. So we'll go ahead and open up with our first memories. And that's pretty easy because all three of us watched this for the very first time together.
Very first time.
I'm generally bulletproof, so I'll go first. Bruce, my man, my friend, my brother, stick to acting.
Yes.
This was rough. And listen, folks, I'm a blockbuster purist. I'm not even going to touch the graphics. That's not fair.
Right.
That's not what they were given a $3 million budget. This is a B movie by any stretch of the imagination. However, that script was garbage by just on a fundamental level. There was way too many themes that they wanted to tie together. Their communism thing that they just
there's a weird communism subplot they tried to introduce and just did not follow up on.
There was tons and tons and tons of errors as far as like continuity. Things would change shape, change position, people would fall over, and then in the very next scene they would be standing up.
Very jarring.
People would be hit on the right side of the face and both sides of their nose would be bleeding.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't take much to fake a stabbing. And that sucked. That knife that she kept using was just
Not retractable.
fake as fuck.
Yeah, there was something weird about that. It was very odd.
So, yeah, my first memories, I watched it, and I'll tell you what.
Well, the crazy thing is, like, this isn't even like his directorial debut. Like, he directed episodes of Hercules, and he directed episodes of Xena.
Yeah, but directing a TV show like that, they have to stick to very strict guidelines.
Right.
There's only so much you can just go ham on.
Yeah, this was my first time watching it as well, and I've owned this DVD set for a few years with Alien Apocalypse and My Name is Bruce. Yeah. And I've seen both My Name is Bruce and Alien Apocalypse a couple times, but I just never really felt that compelled to watch Man with the Screaming Brain. It just did not appeal to me. I remember this I remember when this premiered on Sci-Fi. I didn't watch it, but I was a big Sci-Fi Saturday fan. That was my thing. Yeah, it's like something I was always there for, was those Sci-Fi Saturday films. And I remember this premiering and not being that interested into it because I was always looking out for the creature features, the horror, and this didn't really look up my alley. But I had yet to really just fall in love with Bruce where I wanted to watch everything of his. So it just didn't really appeal to me. Yeah. And I just passed on it. And I bought this DVD set. And again, I just kind of passed on it. I bought it mainly just for My Name is Bruce. Right. And never made it to Man with the Screaming Brain. So we decided when we was doing Cult of Campbell that since it's his feature directorial effort, we might as well check it out. And it seems like he has a pretty long history with this film in general.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a passion project.
Oh,
like
yeah.
a,
It was
like
his
a baby.
He tried, he's had it in his head since the 80s. And it took him like 19 years to make.
That's
yeah,
right.
there's a crazy video I was watching earlier.
Go back and
on
take
YouTube.
longer.
Yeah. There's a crazy video I was watching on YouTube of like all the like issues they had financing. Like they've been trying to finance since the 80s, and just all these different companies have picked it up and dropped it, and cold starts and stops and all that.
I mean, I'm extraordinarily happy for Bruce that he was able to get his pet project done. That's more than most people ever get.
Yes.
Right.
Congratulations on that. Sometimes when it comes to your children, you have to look at quality of life over quantity.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to let the doctor pull the plug.
You gotta sometimes.
Sometimes that stillbirth just is it's not meant to be.
So, like Ben said, this was all of our first times watching this movie. And I had high hopes. Like when Tyler mentioned this, Man with the Screaming Brain, like that's a dramatic title.
It is.
And it's very B-movie sounding, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was really looking forward to watching this. It's directed by Bruce and written by him, and he's starring in it. And it's got this cool name and this
Yeah,
cool
it's one of those names. It's like you said, it's a very like old a title that leaps off the screen.
Right.
Like,
I almost imagine like a horror poster from olden days when they first started.
Well,
using color.
that is the poster.
Yeah, the
If you look up
poster is very much in
that's
that
exactly
vein.
what it
Yeah.
looks
Is
like.
that right?
Very much in that vein.
And I actually think if you would have chopped off the first,
Maybe not lean so heavy into the Bulgaria stuff.
Right.
I didn't get that.
well,
Yeah.
so I think part of that could have been fixed with black and white because it wouldn't have looked so drab. I mean,
Right.
even
That's
though
so
that was
weird.
the point, it was to the point where it was disinteresting to look at.
Yeah,
Right.
that was weird. Like all the exteriors, like Bulgaria just looks like a
This
miserable
movie
place to
certainly made it
live.
Look,
And
rough.
it looked like every shot, like pretty much the whole movie just looked kind of like drab and like
they started working
gloomy.
in some more color there once
Toward the
brains
end.
came
Yeah, but
together,
even that was uninteresting.
yeah,
yeah,
right.
mainly just his shirt. Like they got him that colorful shirt, and
That's
then
true.
Then
Yeah.
you have one of the other characters is wearing like a yellow jumpsuit that pops, but
Right.
that's basically it. But for the most part, this movie looks so drab, and I think we should start at the beginning here.
You're right. So we're gonna
And we had
go
this
through this plot.
we had this weird scene opened up with a mysterious Bulgarian lady
Right.
looking for a American husband in some magazine called like Find American Husbands or American
Right.
Husband for You or something like that. She meets an American man with a terrible mustache.
He decides to go with someone else.
He decides that he's not interested, but he will sleep with her. And that's where he makes
Well,
the
I mean, so
final fall.
if there's one thing that this film hammers home is that the only thing to do in Bulgaria is to experiment on human beings and fuck.
Yes.
Like that is it, because that's all anybody's doing.
Certainly seems to be, all that's going on.
All right, let's kick this son of a bitch off from the top.
He and then we're introduced to Bruce, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep. He's flown in.
him and his wife, Laura.
No, it's Jackie.
Jackie. Yeah, Jackie arrive in Bulgaria. He is a businessman, and he's
Yeah, because
like
for some reason they patent the shit out of her off of Jackie Kennedy.
Oh, yeah,
they
they
did. They
did,
really
didn't
did.
they?
Oh yeah, that's why I said the last time a blonde Jackie was wearing that much pink, the dude caught a bullet in the side of his head. Like,
Which
no, she purposely shot that motherfucker in the shoulder 3 times from 4 feet away, like a cunt. Like, why would you do that?
So then,
Folks, please bear with me. I'm gonna have a rough time with this one.
We're gonna get through this. We're gonna
What-
get through this.
what I think they were trying to make him like an ugly American. I think they referenced that. Like,
Right.
he's one of those Americans that shows up in another country and is like, why is this different from where I'm from? Like,
And you know what? That would have worked perfectly if everybody else wasn't just such a dick.
Right.
yeah,
Like, he didn't stand out. He was just
No.
another asshole in a chorus line of assholes.
yeah, because they're,
There weren't any
like,
likable characters.
he shows up and he's like, oh, this is terrible, and all the Bulgarians are like, yeah, this is terrible. We're terrible people.
And the audience is like, yeah, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And the thing I hate about this most is when we're introduced to Bruce, it's not a fun Bruce.
No, it's not.
It's not even like a fun Bruce playing a not fun
a
Bruce. I don't
douche.
know. It's
Right.
it's just like a very like
You
I
need
don't
him to
know.
be a likable douche.
Yeah, he was not likable.
Or at least give it some ham.
Yeah.
He was definitely he didn't have his hamminess.
He almost seemed reasonable.
Right.
Like everything he complained about, I'm like, he's right.
Yeah, this is a terrible country.
He's right.
But he
Gets into like a debate
cat.
with our cabbie. Our
Yegor,
Russian cabbie.
Yegor.
Yeah, about communism versus capitalism. And that was so out of nowhere.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And so pronounced.
Yeah, and Yegor, who is our I guess he's actually like a very prominent, like he's like an Olympian and he's like an Olympic boxer, I guess, in Bulgaria.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
So he's not just like a random dude. That was kind of the shocking thing to me is that we are introduced to him as like a cabbie, and he for some reason becomes one of our main characters. He has a sickle and hammer tattoo on his hand because you know Russians and communism.
Well, I feel
in
like
Bulgaria.
I feel like with like the martial arts and the gun, I feel like he was like ex KGB or something.
Yeah, there could
which
have been some more stuff with him.
Yeah,
like,
my
maybe
thing
more
is I'm
interesting.
like, couldn't you have done it to where because Bruce Campbell is like this highfalutin CEO, like he's some type of security that's there
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Right.
instead of just making him this dumpy ass cab driver for some reason?
Yeah,
Right.
this cab driver who just knows this stuff. Like, yeah,
And we just
give him something.
don't know much about his background. Well, we learn a little bit, but not why he knows karate or
Yeah,
anything.
so
Why-
he acts as their like guide through Bulgaria, and for some reason like takes them through like the worst parts. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe that's just Bulgaria in general. They drive through like very sketchy parts of town. Which,
Well, they go through Gypsy Town
Yeah.
because they
which,
don't-
which could be like, you know, this is the suburbs. You want the good place in Gypsy
Yeah.
Town. Like, this,
Yep.
I wish one day I can live here in a modular car.
And just remember that there's two rules for Gypsy Town.
stay in the car and stay in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fight Club. What? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
a lot of this that I was like,
And the whole time they're in the car, though, Jackie is just like
Oh.
hot for Cabby.
oh yeah, she
Yeah.
is definitely
she is hot for Cabby.
she
this
is
whole time.
definitely slinging him the dick. eye the
Oh,
whole
she
time.
is like, I love, you know, poor, dirty Russian cab
Yeah, she's
drivers.
like, I bet your balls smell like onions.
Yeah, that's,
What
yeah,
the fuck, lady?
Yeah. yeah. So
I mean, and just right in front of her husband.
Yeah,
and we're pretty much like
She doesn't
introduced
care.
at the beginning. Like these two do not
No.
need to be together. Like
Because
they are
really, he
they
didn't
don't
seem
get
to
along
care
at all. No,
that she's hitting on Russian guys.
No,
it
and
didn't
then,
bother him at all.
and then they give us that bullshit romantic thing at
Oh
the
my
end. Get the
gosh.
fuck out of here. Like,
so when they're going through Cabby Town, they are.
can't with this movie.
We get Ural's. This is where we find out Ural's a badass. He's
Why-
because he's kind of like a he's kind of like a douche through like the ride. Like he's like
Right.
being very like confrontational or like whatever with
right, but we're meant to feel like Bruce's character is the dick.
yeah.
Right.
And you're like,
What everyone's a dick.
yeah, you're like, no,
Yeah.
everybody is just awful.
There really isn't much of a likable character, and then so speaking of unlikable characters, 3 more show up.
Yeah.
And this is where we see that Cabby is amazing at martial arts, and apparently
Kicks all their asses.
Didn't we have a scene with the robot first where they take us to the lab and
yes.
their messes? Like,
What
God
the
damn
hell
it! Why
was
was
the
that even?
robot was very intrinsic.
Yeah,
wasn't
we're
it?
introduced to our other characters
Yes,
who are God, what were their names? So we have Pavel, that's played by Ted Raimi,
Ted Raimi.
and his boss, who is Dr. Ivan Ivanovich Ivanov.
So we've got Dr. Russian and Paste Eater.
Yeah.
and
He's played by Stacy Keach.
just
So they
I remember when we were watching, I kept saying like, he's your nephew, right?
we never really follow up
Right.
on
Like
that,
I'm like, there has to be some reason why
It's
you're
like-
keeping this guy around.
It's some kind of weird like Frankenstein
I think
Igor
it's just
type
an
deal.
Igor metaphor.
Yeah.
Like I think it's
Okay,
but-
first
what
of
is
all,
that- what is
okay,
that
let
with
me.
these, like-
I'm going to take this time because this is something that just bugs the fuck. His name was Fritz
Oh,
in the original Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein's sidekick's name was Fritz, and he wasn't an idiot. He was cruel, but he wasn't a moron. But his name was Fritz. Igor didn't come in until Bride of Frankenstein, I believe.
okay, okay.
So yeah, no, fuck you. His name was Fritz.
You and your Frankenstein metaphors. get it
Anyway,
right.
back on topic. That's just always bugged me because I'm like, his name is Fritz. Everybody goes Igor. I'm like, no.
What is up with these mad science these like genius scientists and they're like, I'm gonna hire the dumbest help I can find.
Right.
How
Yeah.
much can you fuck up my work?
But again, like in the original trope where that comes from, he wasn't an idiot. In fact, he ran all the equipment.
Yeah, and they just
Not in here.
Well, they still have him running the equipment, but he's a complete moron. So
Right,
it goes back to your question, like, why is he there?
And I get that this is a comedy, but like,
I think Bruce didn't want to go to Bulgaria by himself, so you need to get Ted Raimi a paycheck.
well, that's fine. That's fine. And you can even make him. I mean, but like they Tropic Thundered this shit. Like, like you can make him dumb, but you never go full retard.
Yeah,
Right.
he comes in like he's like we got
he's got
hip
a
hop
He's a
stuff.
Bulgarian.
Oh, he's got Bulgarian. He's like cereal and he's pouring Red Bull. 'Cause
Red
he drinks
Bull.
Red Bull with the whole thing.
right.
Yeah, and he's got a Detroit jacket.
Yeah, Detroit jacket. Yeah, because they can't afford like a sports team logo, so it's just a Detroit jacket, and a Detroit shirt.
and he's like a Bulgarian
because
rapper.
because the Raimis are from Detroit, so that was like
Oh, is
Gotta
that
represent.
why that is?
I wondered where that came from. Okay.
that's where
okay.
Bruce and them come from, is Michigan.
Yeah, but just because you can do a nod doesn't mean
Yeah.
you should.
Then he has a robot that he has that like he can control the
She can like
remote
act
control.
like she's brushing her teeth.
Oh, it's a he. It's a he at this point.
Oh, is
Yeah,
it?
they put
Yeah,
the
it's a
wig
he.
on it.
A wig comes on
Oh,
later.
okay,
yeah.
I forgot-
They give
I
it
forgot about
wigs
that.
and that tits later here.
I
And,
see.
and you know, I have to question. So like the doctor's like, I'm trying to make it to where we can do organ, but also you can just transfer consciousness into a robotic body.
Yeah, why not build a better robot?
What? Why even fuck with the
Yeah.
But like we don't need organs.
Yeah, just replace them with.
We're gonna build
animatronics.
better robots and put brains in robots and
Yeah.
we're gonna be robots now. Like do that. That's way cooler than your
weird cell.
I get that's the more practical thing to do is the cell thing, but the cooler thing for
Is it more practical? How is it more because they transfer her consciousness into that
Yeah.
robot without a hitch.
right.
Yet this thing,
Well, I think because they don't really
your brain
they just
saying,
they just know how to do that. They
see,
just
your
do it.
brain is saying that
We're
the
getting way
organ,
ahead of ourselves though.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, because there's a large portion of this first act where it's just very boring.
And we're not even ahead of ourselves because they throw all that, like when they first
Yeah.
introduce you to the Russians, they throw all that, or the doctor, they throw all that information at you. This is
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Hope that,
Yeah, they throw everything
they
right
just
at
look
you.
Yeah. And while Bruce and Cabby and Jackie are going through Gypsy Town, they run into Toyota.
Lloyd Toyota.
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 We're gonna- just she's Toyota.
Yeah, we run into Toyota.
The serial killer.
Yeah. She's the woman from the beginning. And she is this really awkward thing where like they stop the car, she's in front of them,
She
and
says,
she gives like all of them like a look like she's trying to fuck
She's
all
like-
three of them.
Yeah.
just this piercing look, one at a time.
And apparently Bulgaria is is not even as big as Rhode Island. Because I mean they just run into each other.
All the
Fucking
time.
everybody
Yeah.
is right within each other's grasp every time.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and she even does
Because she pops up like just a few minutes later.
right.
She's their hotel maid.
Yeah,
as
she's the hotel
as
maid.
That's right.
So yeah, like they
My gosh. So we've
Ural-
established creepy lady.
we established creepy lady, we established scientist and sidekick. We have the cab driver, and we have Bruce and his wife, and that's pretty much our character.
That's
There's your cast.
Yeah.
So the Ural gets them to their hotel.
And I just gotta
Bruce-
say, why would you not call him Yuri?
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna want to call him Yuri. Why would you
Wow.
make his name
Yeah.
more complicated than that?
I think it was just they were trying to differentiate themselves. I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea. But they get to the hotel. Bruce asks Ural what it's going to take to keep you on call. $150 American dollars.
Yeah.
He says he has $200 American
negotiates
dollars.
it down
And he's
from
like, "How about 150? And you buy my cigarettes. No, I don't smoke. You buy your own cigarettes, which is fair.
And then he's like, "Take my wife shopping."
Yeah,
Yeah.
take my wife shopping too. I imagine there are just some absolutely luxurious boutiques around Bulgaria.
Oh yes,
Just
absolutely.
just anywhere you want to buy a modular gray car or a dog
Tracksuit.
collared tracksuit,
Tracksuit.
or
So-
a large ill-fitting dress.
And then what?
Anything.
We jump, and these jumps are so jarring.
yeah. they're-
We jump to Bruce in the subway tunnels.
Not yet. We get all that awkward shit in the hotel.
where they just kind of treat each other like crap. And
They
it's like
don't
their
want to
marriage
be
sucks.
there.
Yeah.
She's being very ungrateful for him bringing her to Bulgaria.
Oh, that's right.
I treated you to a trip to Bulgaria. And
this
you're treating me
beautiful
like shit.
this beautiful country.
Yeah.
Yes, but and then we
that's the
also
takeaway.
we run in Toyota. Toyota is the maid,
We see her on his
and
way
Bruce
out.
is like, "Do I know you?" It's like, "Yeah, you've seen her 10 minutes
10
ago.
minutes ago on the street.
And he's like, I never forget.
No, so that's after he gets back from the subway thing, isn't it?
Is it? I don't.
I think he ran into her once before, and then when he came back, she's in the room.
So
you see-
yeah, because they cut to him in the subway tunnel, and then they cut back to the wife and and not Yuri. And they're like, should we go shopping? We can go shopping. And she's like, oh, or I could just pogo you like a fucking jumps.
Yeah, or we can just fuck.
And then it cuts to them fucking in the fucking just in the back of that tiny ass cab.
I know. Yeah. Bruce is like, so we find out the reason Bruce is in Bulgaria is he is wanting to open the Bulgarian subway. Which to me, I don't think these people have infrastructure to maintain.
And didn't they say that he was like the head of a pharmaceutical company?
Yeah, he's like the head of like the top pharmaceutical.
What the
company
fuck does they care about a subway system
in Bulgaria? So his dream is like he's like sitting around. He's like, I've got all this money. I can do anything. I can do anything I want. I'm going to open the first subway system in Bulgaria. That is where I'm going to cement my legacy as the man who brought the subway to Bulgaria.
I'm going to finish what somebody started 30 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And back in the corner, Elon Musk is going, that's a good one.
Yeah, good one. I'm shooting hot rods in space.
Here I'm trying to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Who knew that Bulgaria was the final frontier?
Yeah.
So
I'm going to take this moment to say, fuck this film.
it's rough. This movie is rough.
It's hard for us to get through.
But yeah, so,
and then it flashes back. So they're porking in the cab.
Right.
And then it flashes back to Bruce, who is now with Psycho Bitch. And that's when they're starting to like...
Oh, yeah.
She's starting to seduce him. Like
frisky.
Right. And she robs... So this is where I'm talking about like this...
Oh, we forgot about the ring.
Fuck the ring. Who cares about the ring?
Well, the ring apparently is like this huge plot point that like...
that is brought up once, dropped, and then brought up again at the end.
Yeah, so when the first time that Ural drops Bruce off at the hotel, he mentions like, we're not doing so good. I want to like make amends with my wife.
Right.
Can you pick me up a ring? Does he tell her to pick her up a ring?
Well, I thought that was my assumption, but I guess he was selling him a ring that he already had.
Yeah. So,
but
we find out later.
Did I miss where he talked to Yuri about getting a ring?
I don't
remember him saying anything. It's like the way I remember it is that Yuri was just sitting in the cab with the ring in his hand, and Bruce is like, "Oh yeah, I need that. Can I buy it from you?" And he's like, "Sure."
Yeah.
Boy, I think you're right.
So he buys the ring, and then we find out later. We find out later that more coincidence that Ural and Toyota used to be a thing. And they were engaged at one point, and that ring was their engagement ring that Ural just carries around, and he sold to Bruce. So
yeah, he had it with him, even though he doesn't care about it apparently.
And like the next few things, I'm like very hazy on because I know the next big thing is Bruce getting knocked out, right?
Well, no, yeah. So here's I'm gonna have to defend myself because I said this film is just got so many problems and people are gonna ask for examples, I'm sure. So let me give you an example of how even the script can't follow its own shit, which is like, I know you're trying to make a comedy and make it be and all this, but your script has to follow some logical consistencies for your audience to follow. We were told at the beginning of this film that this woman is looking for an American husband, and it is only after the American husband rejects her that she kills him.
Right.
Here she has a rich American guy who she knows is married, but is willing to just...
Clearly has a thing for
her. And at the first sign that it doesn't work, because he does say like, I would never marry somebody, but it's...
Oh yeah, that's right.
He does, but he's clearly willing to like engage in this. She doesn't work at all towards it. She's like, well, stab another motherfucker. And I'm like, I thought you were working towards a husband.
Yeah.
Like the other guy she killed because he's just like...
He ended up picking somebody else.
Yeah, and it's just like... I don't even know how to conclude this thought. It's just like she's just dropping bodies and nobody... Like how many people has she just... And if you're looking for a husband, why did you rob him? Because he said all that shit he said all that shit, but he didn't say that till like the very end, and she was.
There's a lot of like this movie has a lot of problems, but a lot of the problems I feel like are in this first act. Because first act is the roughest.
Yeah.
And like generally you don't want your first act to your first act sometimes slow, but it's got to at least hook your audience. And this did not, like from the jump, like you're introduced to dislikable Bruce. and
Dislikable wife.
dislikable wife,
Dislikable cab guy.
dislikable country, because they really do present Bulgaria as like
they
like
did not flatter it.
as like hell on earth.
Yeah.
Like they're like, it looks sad. Like these people live here. Like
Like if Bulgaria, the country, according to this movie, if the country of Bulgaria had a personality, it would be beige.
yes.
Like there's nothing.
No, there is nothing there.
That's a very
Everything's
good way
just
of putting
very
it.
drab. Like it looks like it's constantly muddy.
Yeah, and
I feel like there's like constantly your shoes are covered in mud.
it's so devoid of personality. Like even in like other movies where they show places to be shitholes, like whether it's a war zone or a poverty-induced ghetto or whatever, they give it flair and personality.
Yeah, give
that
it
you
character.
Even if it's a shithole, you're like, okay, it's stylized to be like hell,
Right.
like you said, hell on earth. This is like the purgatory of Earth. There's nothing.
There's people. There's like a weird shot like at one point of a guy riding a horse, and the horse is a red afro, and it goes by the screen. And it's not even like a focal point. It's like they just like the guy like walked through the shot,
And it's like in town square.
yeah, that's like the weird thing. You see like these weird modular like box cars that people drive around that are all pieces of shit.
And then just a random dude riding a horse.
Random horse, just people like pulling like rickshaws. Like it's the weirdest fucking place.
It's almost like they didn't know if this was going to be set in like a third world country or
I think it's just-
medieval times.
I think it's just Bulgaria.
From everything that
really-
I've read about how they filmed just like on location, I'm just wondering if at the time they filmed this, that area of Bulgaria just sucked dick.
It's just what
I'm
they
sure.
had to
It
work
feels like
with.
it's just Bulgaria. Like I
maybe.
said, this is a Sci-Fi Pictures original, and if you know anything about Sci-Fi Pictures originals, a large majority of them are shot in Bulgaria because it's super cheap to shoot Bulgaria.
Right.
And I've never seen Bulgaria treated as Bulgaria. Like usually you'll see, because I recognize a lot of these actors in this movie because of sci-fi movies, because a lot of them are short in there.
Yeah.
Usually it's like they'll film rural Bulgaria, and it's backwoods North Carolina, and everyone is America number one. We like baseball and hot dogs. Like I can't wait to hear new country album when it hits.
But
Like,
I'm sure
it's like that. But no, this right here is like we're in Bulgaria. This is Bulgaria. Here's Bulgaria.
Well, it's not even like I'm sure Bulgaria has like so that's some really old territory. So I'm sure they've got some beautiful architecture, some beautiful.
we get treated to some interesting like art like they have.
Oh, shut
around.
up! That even that made it look so drab. It's like they're like, oh no, this is ex-Soviets, and that's all we have. Show a nice, pretty tree or some flowers.
I think we need to get to where like the movie finally picks up, because this is a dredge getting through this first act, because it's shot like the first half of this is like sub soap opera quality. Like it is
Right.
It is rough. Like it's hard to like stay awake.
It really is 9 miles of bad road.
Right.
Yes.
It
So we get this shot of. I know we're missing a couple things. Like I know there's there's another scene with Pavel and Dr. Ivanov
Who cares?
where they wite a letter, and like he's writing a letter because like just how much he invented this drug, and like all of a sudden the number one pharmaceutical
is making the same sort of drug, and he's like,
and he just has to be in the same country,
and
at the
that's
same
just another
time.
thing that they never touch again.
No,
right,
Like he's developing
it's not ever touched on.
right,
It's like he's developing the same thing.
yeah,
But ours works.
yeah,
And then it's never like, like, oh, let me buy your drug, or I'm going to corner the market. It's not like,
No.
I don't know what the plot was, but they have that little scene. We see that the Dr. Ivanov is trying to get in contact with Bruce so they can make some kind of deal. That's a little plot point that kind of goes away. And then eventually.
And they sabotage. It's like they sacrificed their own movie on the altar of we think this is funny. Because
they did that a lot.
Because they had that letter that they wrote, right? You're
Right.
like,
Yeah.
okay, now that's interesting. Let's see what happens here. Even in, a goofy comedy, you got to have some intrigue. And then they go out of their way to be like, yep, that was interesting. We're literally going to show the dumbest fucking character taking that out, wiping his ass with it, and then typing up a new letter so that we can have this marshmallow fluffed brained character read a stupid letter in front of Bruce, and that's going to be funny, right? It's like,
That's hilarious. Yeah.
it's like, or just have him read the regular fucking letter.
Yeah. After this.
Because you just walked us through that entire scene of them writing that
yeah.
letter for nothing.
Yeah, that
You
was-
completely
it was
undone
pointless.
it. You
pointless.
undid it by the end of the scene.
And
It
I
was
don't
pointless.
understand. It's not like that guy was like active, like subverting the doctor or doing any, like, why did he, I don't understand why he rewrote it.
Idea.
There's a scene
Because
where.
comedy, Eric.
Because comedy.
Comedy.
And there's a scene where they interact and they're reading the letter together and he gets turned down and they just didn't have a good back and forth. Frankly, I didn't like the Fritz character.
Yeah.
The moron.
The moron. I did. And it kind of sounds like a lot of people really did.
Yeah. The reviews that I've read, they're just like, oh, he really steals the show. I'm like,
well, to be fair, he's the only character that doesn't actively go out of his way to make himself unlikable.
Right.
He's not. He's
unlikable all by himself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably the charm of it. And he's like, oh, I have no real reason to hate this character. That's interesting. Like that's like maybe that's the appeal. Is like, I don't like him, but he doesn't really give me a reason to. So
it's not actively trying to screw up. Right.
Like
it's played. Pavel, by the way, is played by Ted Raimi. Who,
I know.
Of course, is the younger brother of Sam Raimi.
I'm gonna struggle to put this thought together, but if you're banking on the fact that people are going to like your character because he just happens to be the least dickish one out of the collection, dear God, take a look at your script again.
Yes.
Give us somebody that's likable. Somebody to root for.
Yeah.
I wanted them all to die at the end. I thought by the end of this, they were all dead.
I was curious to where it was going to go, but so we haven't even got to the main part of the movie yet. Like
right. And they took too long getting to the main part of the movie too, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. If you feel like you're waiting for us to get to the point, well, that is exactly how we felt watching this fucking movie.
It certainly is.
So Toyota hits...
She gets into confrontation and they square off. She whacks.
She, for no reason. Like, she's going to go to stab him. The wife interrupts. And the wife is pissed off that she catches Bruce with this other chick after she just gets back from accepting a load of Bulgarian sperm from some random cab driver. Why are you giving Bruce some shit, lady?
I know. And then, so after he gets, she leaves and gets robbed and everything, the wife is like, oh, I'm leaving you. You better not be here when I get back.
Right. And he's literally telling her, like, hey, this lady just robbed me. And she's like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm like, why? Does he just randomly make that shit up all the time?
Right. Yeah.
And then he goes outside and for some reason she's waiting outside and just bonks him over the head. Like, you got away free and clear.
And did enough damage to his head to kill him, I guess. And that's where Cabby comes up.
Yeah, because for some reason, there's a lot of Sixth Sense in this film where people are tangentially close to something or within the same block of an event that happens, and for some reason they're just like, I sense a disturbance in the force.
I must go this way.
Yeah, and they get up, just immediately walk the right direction. So he pulls his gun that he just keeps for no reason that we can discern.
Because why not? Yeah.
And
boy, how does that turn around?
Oh yeah, she walks up to him. And is just like, hey, can we fuck one more time? Because that's something that,
Right. Apparently
she just killed a man.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, sure. And she stabs him.
Yeah. And he's on the ground. And then she's got the gun.
Takes the gun and shoots him 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
In the shoulder. Repeatedly. Just this virtually the same spot.
Point blank.
Yeah, she is literally at the point where the bullet doesn't drop from gravity. She is not even 4 feet away, and she's just shooting him in the shoulder over and over again.
Yeah. I think maybe the last shot might have been low enough to be considered perhaps his
Fuck
chest.
off!
But
And I don't understand why. Like, you couldn't put the squib's center mass?
I don't know. I don't know what the thinking was there. And then she just
walks away.
Yeah. Leaves them both for dead.
They both die, according to the movie.
Right, they do. And they're both listed as dead in the papers. Our Frankenstein doctor allegory is like, oh, well, this is great news.
Yeah.
Bring them here. We can
bring me the body of the CEO of the pharmaceutical company that absolutely is not going to go anywhere, but somehow we're going to. Oh,
yeah.
God.
So, despite what I can only imagine would be enormous amount of red tape, he still manages to get.
His lab is in his garage. What kind of red tape do you think he could get through?
But I mean, how's he get his hands on this American business?
I love it. Cause that's how this movie deals with everything. Like if you have, they just kind of cut to things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They yada
over a lot of it.
He goes, "Bring me the body." Next cut, they have the body.
That's how it is. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. We see our the brain in there.
Yeah. He puts cabbies, so we get Ural.
This weird little laser like thing that he's controlling with a joystick. I think Ben pointed out. I didn't even notice.
So Ural and
How is it that Bulgaria doesn't have enough money to paint anything other than cream, but this dude has a laser?
right.
Along with just all this surgical equipment in like what's essentially a warehouse. Like, I don't know. They kept showing exteriors of this building.
It's like the country has like a grand sum total allotment of technology that they're allowed to have, and it all went to this dude in his garage.
Yeah.
So we get we find out that Ural and Bruce now share the same brain or share the same body.
Mm-hmm.
And
the doctor kind of gives us, that exposition.
I guess Bruce doesn't know who he is either.
Yeah, they didn't really establish
Yeah, my
that very
God.
well.
Like we're treated to him escaping the lab. They don't bother to chase him, even though they're 2 feet behind him.
And they've barely explained anything to him, apparently. They're just like, oh yeah, you're gonna get flashes of memory, it's fine. Like,
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess looking back on it, right? Like we were confused why Bruce was referring to memories as not memories. He's like, I'm getting flashes of things, and we're like, those are memories. And it's like apparently his brain just wasn't working, but boy, fuck, do they not tell you that?
Right.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't know that he doesn't know who he is.
No.
He runs out. It's kind of like this Frankenstein breaking out of the lab.
Only he
sequence.
doesn't break anything.
No, he doesn't. He just kind of runs through a crowd of like people and then has all these weird shots in front of statues.
Yeah.
They just, and this is where the gags kind of start.
Yes.
Like they didn't really go into any physical comedy gags before this point, but he like
And this is not even played as a gag though. It's supposed to be like horrific.
Well,
I mean,
the one
guess.
is where he kind of sits and does the same pose as the statue, and then you're right, they go right back into like, oh, this is terrible, running around, oh no, and these people are just letting him run amok, and he just looks confused with these big old scars on his forehead.
It's rough. We went to in the same point too. Jackie, we already mentioned that she like seen Bruce dead or whatever. She's seen him like banged up.
Does she? Oh, in the hospital.
Yeah, in the hospital.
Oh, that's right.
And she like feels bad.
Oh yeah, she's all like.
So
oh,
she's
no,
like, I know who did this
Somehow.
somehow.
And then she finds her.
She goes. She finds
Like,
Toyota.
it's another one of those goddamn cuts. She's like at the hospital going, I'm going to avenge my husband. Cut. She's walking through the apartment door.
There she is.
and we get this like fight between Toyota and Jackie, which is one of the more entertaining parts of the film.
She opens up,
but
with
for
a
all
smack
the
across
wrong
the
reasons.
All the
face
wrong
of
reasons.
hers.
It's just ridiculous. They get in this like scuffle, this fight, and Toyota just like chucks her down a flight of stairs and goes back into her apartment. Like she,
just walk.
And then we hear like there's a American female found at this location or
And he's
whatever,
like,
and we find out that
Bring me that body.
Bring me the body,
Yeah,
baby.
it's just like now you hold the fuck on.
Take it.
yeah, Ivanov is just like, get me the body, and they go and they get the body, and they bring her
Next
back.
cut, he's got the body.
I want to
body.
know how this guy doesn't just have like an entire warehouse full of like injured Bulgarians.
Yeah.
Like, why is he specifically like he's specifically going for Americans here? And it's just like, well, there's a greater pool of Bulgarians.
Well, not-
there. I don't know why. I don't know why it's so important. Why is he picking these people?
I have no idea.
They're just the only ones
Then
that
they-
got hurt that day. I don't know.
I couldn't imagine. So Bulgaria looks like you get hurt like on a pretty regular basis.
I guess so. Yeah.
So the only thing I can figure is that the reason why he went out of his way to do this is because he thought if he did this for this pharmaceutical rep that it would
win his
win
favor.
his sponsorship.
I see.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay.
So they get Jackie, and they're like, "What do we do with the brain? We can save the brain or whatever. Her body's fucked."
They put it in a robot.
Yeah, we get this weird scene
How?
where Ted Raimi's like, "I know what we can do," and he goes over like, he's like, "We can't put it in that. That's a toy." He's like, "Oh, it's not the toy," and he goes over and he like starts scratching
Disc
records on like
jockeying.
disc jockeying, and the robot gets up, starts breakdancing because comedy. And it starts breakdancing, and then Ivanov's like, "All right, that'll work." Like,
No, this
And
is
then they do it again.
that
They do it again.
that scene was totally because they paid a person to be in that robotic suit who was doing a phenomenal
that was,
job.
Yeah, whoever was the performer for
Doing a
the
great job.
robot
And they're like,
was
listen,
great.
we have paid this person a lot of money.
So we're gonna just have you dance for entirely too long on screen. Well,
and then revisit it.
I was 100% sure at the end credits were going to be like an extended dance sequence. I thought that's what the end credits were going to be. It's that robot like dancing because comedy.
Yeah,
and
comedy.
But they just
they're just playing Legos at this point. So,
no, Lincoln Logs.
Lincoln Logs.
Yes,
Lincoln
of
Logs.
course, Lincoln.
Yeah, you stop that. They don't got money for Legos.
Yeah,
We didn't get that Lego money.
yeah. Lincoln Logs.
So now Jackie's in a robot, and
They give her boobs and a wig and
so perfect, good as new, right?
and like they
And
turn her on and
this thing is horrifying.
Oh yeah,
This
it's
is
creepy.
This is pure nightmare fuel. But like they turn it on, like as soon as they turn it on, it just like escapes. And it's like it walks to the door and it's walking, and we see it. This thing can
at a mile a minute. I mean, a mile an hour.
Yeah, a mile an hour. It just starts walking, and they're like, "Damn,
it got away.
it got away. We gotta go find it." And it's like it's
That
on
was
the,
the
it's
same
on the
thing with
sidewalk.
Bruce. He was like stumbling at half the speed of smell, and they stopped at the door. Like, damn, there he goes.
Yeah, man. If only I could take left turns.
He got away. Yeah, he got away from us.
And
They
so the robot's out.
then I think then we go to the restaurant, right? Doesn't Bruce decide to go to the restaurant? We get the bit where it's like they're like want to order a drink, and we get that American, and we get reminded that Bruce is American and Ural's Russian because they ask what their drinks will be, and Bruce says, "I'll take a scotch," and then
It was like vodka.
yeah, vodka.
So
And then
they
have that
go into
argument.
those kind of like gags where it's like the back and forth. Oh no, I've got control of this hand.
And of course,
But
the
they don't
person
do it a
that,
lot though. They don't do it enough. Like,
and for some
they
reason,
just
for
like
some
dedicated a little segment of the movie. To it.
yeah,
That's
because
it.
at a certain point you just forget like it's just Bruce just running around doing stuff like
with weird head scars.
weird head scars.
and a radio voice. I didn't know why they edited Yuri's voice to sound like it was coming from a radio.
I don't know either. I don't understand what the point of that was.
Right.
For some reason, they put like a walkie-talkie distortion over it. I don't know.
Yeah, I have. I almost feel like that they were like, "Oh shit, we forgot to record his voice," so they ADR'd it, and they're like, "Can we do this better?"
But my thinking
We've blown
is
the budget.
It would have been way better to just have. I thought they were giving this guy such a dramatic Russian accent to give Bruce like an alternative voice to go back and forth on.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like that would have been way better than just like
yeah, kind of like how the William Dafoe Spider-Man thing, where he was pulling both.
Right. That would have been a much funnier, like, and then watch him play off of himself instead of just like you could tell he's just playing off of like ambient air.
And like we do get a lot of like really good Bruce like slapstick stuff in these sequences, and that's like one of the saving graces of this movie.
Right. Well,
if you've seen like Army of Darkness or like Evil Dead 2, like,
yeah, he's proven that he can do that.
yeah, that's
and
like
do it
his
well.
that's his thing is like slapstick. So I think this movie was like hinged on that. Like it's gonna be a bunch of Bruce doing slapstick, but it happens so late in the film.
Yeah.
And there's so much shit that you have to go through to get to that.
It's just a complete tonal shift. And
Yeah, it's a very big
disjointed.
tonal shift.
So I almost there's two writers listed, right? It's him and
No, writer is just him.
He was the only
story
screenplay writer, but yeah, about
story
four
is like
people
three
had
people.
something to do
Yeah,
with the
but
story.
writer is just
Okay,
Bruce.
so I just wonder if like the first half of that was
Their
the
idea.
Goodman or whatever the hell his name was.
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
See, I just feel like
wonder.
I feel like there was a script that was probably completed at first, and it's a lot more coherent. And then the $3 million budget came along, and we're shipping you to Bulgaria, and you only have this amount of actors to work with, and you have to change everything to fit in the Bulgaria. And I feel like a lot of stuff just kind of got lost, and that's where we come out with this. 'Cause I just feel like there's even like a IDW did like a 4-issue like comic like graphic novel run, and apparently Bruce like favors those.
Yeah, I
Because
guess
they're
he
able
gave
to do
that
stuff in the
okay.
comics they weren't able to do in the films.
God-
And even look at the covers of
God
those
damn
comics.
it! That means we're gonna have to do the comics and see what the difference is.
Yeah, I think
If it's better, at least
I think if
comics
you folks
can't
are
look as
interested
bad
in
as
us,
this. So.
Yeah, if you folks are interested in us covering the comics, I'd be
If they're
happy to
cheap,
take a look
if
and
they're
see.
cheap, if they're cheap, because I know a lot of
Maybe
these
it
things are.
redeems the movie for all.
I know a lot of these Bruce
Well,
Campbell comics seem to like go up in price for some reason. So
I can't imagine it's expensive.
like even looking at the covers of those comics, like you can like the one cover is like him holding his robot wife, and like she looks a hell of a lot better. Looks like an
Right.
actual robot, like it's raining and it's storm and stuff. Like the cover looks a lot more cinematic than the actual movie turned out to be. But
Right.
So they're at the restaurant.
they're at the restaurant. They have like this gag where they're like, "Oh, you take the salad bar,"
well. So we saw him. We called that splash the face from a mile away.
Oh yeah. They set that up. They're gonna race to take the shot, and so he ends up splashing both shots in his face.
Which would, as somebody that's done a fair amount of drinking, that would burn like a motherfucker.
Yes.
He would be blind for at least
Definitely
15 minutes.
And then they
How much are they?
about
like $14 total.
Okay, there we go.
$10 plus $4.
So that's within the realms of possibility.
Oh yeah, we'd be happy to get those.
So he places his order. They can't
agree on the food to get.
No, they're like fish, beef, and he's like, well, the fish is healthier. I'm like, fuck you. You don't give a shit about that. So they settle on chicken.
Yeah,
and she's like, help yourself to the salad bar.
and they go over.
This is the saddest looking
just
salad
like-
bar ever.
It's on a picnic table.
It's on a picnic table
and
with
there's just
a cover
cereal
over it.
bowls full of and there's not even salad on
There's
it.
no salad. There's like turnips and onions and chives. There is not a fucking scrap of lettuce to be seen on that table.
No, it's just like, and that's kind of when I realized it's like that was probably the same set that they did the laboratory set in.
Oh,
They just filled it with tables instead of.
and it's probably the same one they did the bar in too.
Oh, I bet you're right.
'Cause that bar was nothing but picnic
Oh,
tables.
that bar was
Yeah,
the shits. But
but I mean, budget. I really can't trash the set too much. It's just this movie.
here's the whole graphic novel for $12, free shipping.
Okay.
Ooh, there we go.
So yeah, if you're interested in us examining the differences and seeing if we like that better,
I feel like I would instantly
Yeah,
like the comic better because I feel like it would look a lot more polished. Than
at
this,
the bare minimum, it would keep its shit out of my ear holes.
yes, yes.
And it would probably capture the spirit of what I think they were going for.
It looks
with
like
this
from
movie a
just
little better.
from just browsing the eBay, I'm seeing like the comic covers. Looks like they were going for a lot more like old school like gothic horror, like
Yeah.
the like
Which is
B
kinda what I-
the B movie like horror like
Right.
candlesticks and cobblestones and that kind of stuff like
yeah. Just kind of
beakers and electro rods and stuff like
Yeah,
that. It looks like they were going for a lot more of that.
this
Yeah.
definitely felt like it could have taken a healthy dose of like Young Frankenstein.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Right.
From the looks of the comics, that looks like what they were going for.
Right.
Is that like retro horror vibe? But
Yeah. Because then we go into like.
So
this-
where do they even go from the restaurant? I don't
So,
fucking remember.
Well, before he even leaves, and they never touch on this again, and I was really confused on that. His head got super like heated.
yes,
they
and
never
he
did
start-
touch that again,
He
did they?
remembers,
That
he remembers
never
who he
came
is.
back.
He remembers who he is.
Right,
And for
and
some
his-
reason, his head like gets
Just
like boiling.
super hot.
Yeah, so I thought that was gonna have to be a thing. Like the more they communicate and work together, the more he was gonna have to worry about overheating.
Right.
Because we see it. There's a minor plot point they like stress at like 2 points in the film with the robot wife Jackie, where her battery is dying.
Oh yes,
And like there's a part where she goes in, like beats up these thugs and like uses their battery, a car battery, to charge herself up.
right,
And then we move on from that.
yeah,
And they totally copped out. So when you see the robot view, it shows like her connectors, and there are clearly 2 connectors on her nipples.
right.
But anytime they go to jump it, it's on the sides of her hips. And I'm like, you cowards.
Yeah.
We know what you wanted to do.
Yes.
Right.
In your
Yes. It's
slapstick
just-
yeah,
comedy.
it's very clear that you guys originally intended that to be
right.
the
The
hookup,
gag.
the hookup
Yeah.
points.
So he deals with this heated head thing by dunking his head.
It
That
was a
horrible
literal, and I mean literal, the literal definition of a shithole.
Yeah,
It
it was
absolutely
a shitty
was.
toilet.
And this is supposed to be like a Bulgarian, like
Like
5-star
fancy
restaurant.
yeah, which maybe that is like fancy for Bulgaria. I don't know.
but if you look at like the shit stains on the side of the toilet, it was like somebody was finger painting on that motherfucker.
I don't know. It was definitely like unnecessary and like
super gross.
it's comedy.
yeah.
But he goes to the bathroom, like goes to the kitchen and
Dumps
like,
milk on his
and, like,
head and ice, which I would have started with the ice, not the
Yeah.
toilet myself. But that's
he
just
throws
me.
his head in ice.
Well, I
and, like,
guess
we
he
see
wasn't
steam.
thinking clearly.
I mean, that's a good point. Yeah.
We see like steam rise from the ice, so like you can tell his hair's like.
And it wasn't even
superheated.
until then that I realized his head was overheating. Like I didn't know what the
Yeah.
hell was going on.
I think he said, I think he's so, this,
He said a couple times like
Like, it's
on
hot.
fire, I'm boiling. Or
But I
something.
was thinking like fever. Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, it just wasn't clear to me. And maybe I'm stupid.
There's
I
a lot
could
of
be
things
stupid.
aren't because like the next big thing we get is Toyota like setting candles and shit, and she's like,
she's going to marry herself.
yeah, she's like I cannot find the American man to marry me, so I must marry myself.
And it's just a goddamn excuse to, for some reason, get her in a bridal dress. You know what I mean? Like, it was such a random out of nowhere scene.
And I remember, like you were saying, like you said earlier, you're like, I was like, why is she doing this? And like, to marry herself. I was like, saying it doesn't make it fucking make sense. God damn it!
Why is she doing that?
At what point do we get the? At some point, he comes out of the. We missed. There's like a gag in the dumpster. That's kind of
where he it's another one of those.
That was right after the statue bit.
Yeah, that's right. That was sooner than the food.
This movie,
they kind of just covered all the like we're in the same body and disagree gags. You know, he goes into like this weird clothing dumpster,
and they argue over. I'm like, you guys are sharing a brain that's slowly melting, but you guys are arguing over what type of liquor to drink. Whether or not you do or don't want to wear a tie.
Yeah. Right. And,
like
they go and like steal Ural's taxi cab so he can drive his taxi. So he spent money on it. That's a plot point that like goes. They come out of the fancy restaurant,
and he threatens to Bruce Campbell's character, I don't even remember what his fucking name is. Don't bother to say it. I don't care. I don't. Whatever. Bill, whatever.
It's something
like he's like, I don't want to drive in this shitty taxi. And the guy's like, okay, well then I'll strangle us to death. I'm like, I try it. I double dog dare you, motherfucker.
Yeah, right. Call that
his bluff.
Yeah. But no, they get it in this taxi cab, and they don't explain why the douchebags from the first scene have the taxi.
Right. No, they don't. They don't. Like, I was like, why are they even there?
It's just an excuse to break that dude's fingers again.
Yeah. That's a running gag. They keep breaking
and sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Because it's, again, apparently Bulgaria is the size of like Walmart. Because everybody is right within 4 feet of each other at any given time, no matter where they are.
Yeah.
So they've had their disagreements and they've, settled on the middle ground with this and that. The scientist is out trying to find him.
And somewhere along the lines, Yuri and Bruce decide that fuck going to the lab and getting this fixed, fuck any type of medical care. The thing to do is to find this bitch and get revenge. Kill her.
Yeah, just get revenge. Yeah. She killed
Kill
us, we'll kill her. And yeah, it's like, go to a hospital or back to the lab.
But it's fine because in the next scene, they found her.
It did not take them much time to find this serial killer lady who's just leaving a trail of bodies behind her. The cops can't find her.
And okay, you guys are going to have to help me because I'm totally blank on this.
Okay.
They're in the bar, right?
Yes.
And then she comes walking through the door. How does she
just
how in the fuck does she show up to the bar in a wedding dress? Like, how does she know that they're in the bar? I don't recall her finding that information out. I just remember
doesn't she fight the robot lady and like isn't she like getting dressed in her wedding gown and then just fucking robot wife just shows up.
She does fight robot wife at some point. Was that before the bar?
I think it was. Yeah, it was. It was that point because then we have a car chase. That's where we get the car chase.
Oh, with the little pink.
Yeah. At some point after they came out of the 5-star restaurant, Bruce finds that the taxi has had its tires stolen.
See, I don't remember that at all.
That's because he has to. Then he has to get
Oh, that's when he steals the pink Vespa.
Yeah, because comedy.
Right.
And they speed off on their pink Vespa because oh, that's a guy driving a pink motorcycle. What?
Yeah.
And then he wrecks it.
That's coming up here. Yeah. It's like that's where for the bar fight because that's where you get the car chase. And then robot wife shows up and saves Bruce because he somehow gets the car.
That's right. Because he's like, hey, honey. Yeah. Looking great, bye. And you're like, wait, you're not shocked at all that your wife is in a robot body.
Yeah, he's not shocked at all. So yeah, there's a car chase. There's a car chase between Toyota and I think somehow Pavel is involved.
Nobody gives a shit about anything in this movie.
And the pink Vespa gets like a small like pop explosion.
Now that actually legitimately pissed me off. Oh, because remember when we were watching, I'm like, why are you lingering on this? And then it's just.
Yeah. He gets knocked off of it by like a little gag where
gets clotheslined by a clothesline because God knows you didn't see that shit.
Because comedy.
And it just hits a car, tips over, and the shot just lingers.
And we're like, what is going on?
It's like they were like, okay, it's gonna happen any minute.
Yeah.
Any minute.
And
They were
then
building suspense.
little explosion.
And it literally stopped me mid sentence because I was like,
did.
what is going on with this? And it's, oh.
movie.
It was because they were just like, oh, this is gonna be funny. This is gonna be. And I'm like, okay, so let's just say that it didn't like you had the rig right to where it was gonna explode.
Yeah.
And let's just say that it didn't. You're like, okay, it's gonna go off now, and it doesn't, and then it goes off. Trim that shit down in editing, man. We don't need to see when it originally was supposed to explode.
I think they thought it was going to be like comedic. Like,
And by the way, I'm using the term explosion so incredibly loose that I'm about to lose my pants.
I mean,
Like-
they may as well have used a sparkler, which I guess was the gag. But
Yeah, but if you're gonna if you're gonna linger on it, whatever. Fine, it's cool.
So
next?
This movie is just this movie was just rough.
God damn it! What's next?
I'm gonna go and just speed through this last half because it's just we don't need. I can't really remember a whole lot of what happened. So like,
yeah.
robot lady return. They have a bar fight in a bar. It's clearly
And
like
he
somebody's
uses his
like
KGB skills.
It's clearly like someone's like it's like a shipping warehouse that they've set some picnic tables around. That's the bar.
I don't know.
They have a bar fight. Toyota shows up. They fight. Then we find out that robot wife is still alive. She tries to fight Toyota, but Toyota stabs her in the head and like throws her off a bridge.
Yep.
Bruce and Toyota fight for a
Which,
little
by the
while.
way, they've shown this robot capable of like walking through concrete walls, ripping steel doors off of buses.
She could have literally snapped her in half, but she doesn't.
Right.
And Toyota stabs her in the head.
Yeah, when she grabs Toyota, I remember saying, "Oh, this is over."
Yeah.
Fucking
Roll
nope.
credits. Roll credits. But we could only hope. But then Bruce and Toyota run through the old Bulgarian train tunnels.
Right after she like just.
I'm gonna just yada until because the movie does it so much. There's a weird bit too where like Pavel got knocked out like earlier on.
Oh yeah.
He wakes up and this has been like 10, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
He wakes up and like there's a pipe near him, like a grate.
And
he hears Bruce and Toyota fighting, and he just goes, "Oh yeah, yeah." I don't to her like he thinks they're having sex,
Like
and like
sex noises.
I didn't understand what.
And I don't even know how they ended up underneath of because they're underground and they're like in this complex that's got running water under it, and she's they're struggling, and I don't know how they ended up in a place where he could hear them. It was just
I have no idea.
A lot of coincidences.
A lot of fighting,
just for
lot
gags.
chasing.
Once again, Bulgaria is the size of a fucking postage stamp.
That's what it sounds like, yeah. But they get into like a chase through the tunnels, yada yada yada. Bruce like railing into some water. Like,
well, first, so in a complete retcon of everything that they've led us to believe thus far, we find out that their entire motivation was to get that fucking ring back.
Yeah.
Even though not a single one of them said shit about that ring through the entire thing.
The whole time, like everyone's out for Toyota, and we're like, what does this do to like help the ticking clock of the whole movie? Is like, they have to get back to the scientists and like cure this.
Right.
Yeah, you would think it's the brain melting down.
Yeah, you would think that's like that's our plot, our driving point.
It's even the title of the fucking movie.
Yeah, man. And like they show like earlier, way earlier, when we're introduced to Dr. Ivanov and Pavel, and they introduce the concept of this transfusion thing. They show like there's these cells that bond together, and
then
Ivanov and Pavel are like, wow, that's cool, and they walk off. Then we go back to the microscope, we see those two cells separate, and then they both melt.
Yeah.
And we're thinking like, oh, what's going to happen here is like Bruce and you're all going to have to work together to like find a way to keep their heads from dying. But no, they're after this ring.
Just cause. I mean, and after like he had left his now re-deaded robot wife like to blow up in a car, he just kind of was like, I'm sorry for everything that I ever said and did to you, and leave. And she blows up. Or apparently blows up.
Yeah, and then after he kills Toyota, he goes out and finds her body.
Yep.
And
gives her the ring.
Gives her the ring, and we're treated as like it was the scene was good.
It was a well shot, well acted.
Well
scene
shot.
That
we get to see Bruce kind of like tearing up. Like it was a good scene, but we did not earn it.
No,
I didn't give two
unearned.
shits about it.
Like he's already left her for dead a couple, at least.
And they're both terrible people.
Yeah.
She fucked some random cabbie
and got mad at him, was going to leave. And
you know what? They never address, like, I thought there would be some
fallout from that. Like,
no, there's nothing.
Anything.
There's not even like, They didn't even have a gag where like you have the two guys that she's fucking are in the same body. And they're just like, are we gonna? Which at the end of the movie, apparently they're both sleeping with his wife.
Apparently so. Yeah,
you're right. I didn't think about that.
So there's, oh my God.
Yeah, so they have this moment, even though, like I said, he kind of left her for dead before, but now it's like super sweet and cool. I kind of wish when she said "I love you," he'd have stopped and been like, "Well, which one?" Something. Boy. So that's when rinky dinky little Igor guy shows up.
Yeah, he's like driving and like he stops, like he sees something and gets out.
It's another one of those I feel a disturbance in the force moments.
It's got to be.
That happens throughout this film.
Because he acts like he sees something, but we find out that you can clearly see that these guys that like they're down in like a ravine.
Yeah, he had to go all the way to Grandma's house. It was like over the river, through the woods, down the cliff, and there they are. But he's like, no, I heard that.
Yeah.
And he gets the jumper cables from the car after
and that was another scene that they lingered on him forever. He's like, "Can you help us?" He's like, for like 10 minutes, and then he's like, "Oh, I have a battery in the back of my car." I'm like, "Fuck you! You knew that, you asshole!"
Yeah.
Just go get the thing.
But we get like that gag. Like they try to insert more comedy with the gag of him like. He goes to the back of his truck and he opens up and he's like pulling out random things.
Yeah, and oh my God, that was another one where it's like, oh, we're doing this now, huh?
Yeah.
Like the first time he pulls out something, like throws it over his shoulder, I'm like, don't you pull out another fucking thing. Because it is, you can see it. It is right there.
Yeah,
it is right fucking in front of you, you dick.
But no, we gotta get that. We gotta get that comedy, that classic comedy.
So he makes it down there and actually he shocks her before they have their little touching moment because it only gets her like 5% battery. And then so after they have this like decently done, actually well acted scene that's like I said,
between a man and a robot, like it's actually very well done.
The film remembers that it's got a shit on it, so it has Pavlov do his I smeared grease on my face. Isn't that funny?
It's a dirty rag.
And then as if we haven't had enough of this fucking lead-eaten cousin fucking just like absolutely Down syndromed character.
Yeah.
We get more of him chasing a body down the fucking
he's poking at her and throwing stuff at her.
He calls Ivanov and's like, there's dead bodies everywhere. And Ivanov's like, bring them to me. Like,
oh, yes, lots of spare parts.
And we see him chasing her body. We cut to.
and there is no goddamn way he caught that corpse.
Absolutely not. It got away.
It even shows it like kind of like just jettisoned down. Like
right. Like the direct implication is like, oh, he's not catching this.
Nope, that body's getting away. And I think that's...
And then in the next scene, he's got the body.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yada yada.
And then we yada yada 6 months into the future in the U.S. and we see Bruce is signing a
and
check.
that's when you know, like that is confirmation to me that they had you can call this his like pet project. You can call it whatever you want. Fuck you. By the end of this film, you had completely given up because you're like, 6 months later.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. They're like, no, never mind resolving any of that. Really, we already know he's got a cure for the melting brain thing.
Yeah.
That's all the audience needs to know, not how the fuck we got out of any of this other shit.
But what is death? Because like you led us through this whole they lead us through these scenes that by the end of it they're just like, okay, that was for nothing. Because like they led us through this scene where it's like the wife is dying, they're wrecking the ceiling.
Yeah.
Next thing she's alive.
Yep.
And then we get like a shot of in 6 months of future U.S. Bruce is writing a check for $1 million to the Head Trauma Foundation or something. And him and Ural are just like.
They're getting along great.
Getting along. Like, I can't wait till we give $1 million. This is a great cause. It'll help out a lot of people.
What a wonderful life this has become.
And then he goes.
We're both fucking your wife. Isn't that funny?
He yells, "Come on, honey, it's time to go." And then, "Come on, Jackie," he says, and out comes Jackie, but she has had her brain put inside Toyota's body.
Right, but wouldn't she be sharing like part of her brain with Toyota? Isn't that like the thing?
Right. Maybe
she just shared it with this murderous like serial killer person. I don't get it either.
Well, the only reason I think they had to do the half brain thing with Bruce is because he the left side of his brain got damaged from the hit. So that's what I think it was like they took
just
the right
wanted
side.
to save the one
they had
side.
to get the other side.
Yeah,
but maybe they were able to take
they
her
stabbed
whole
her
brain.
in half of her brain.
They did,
So I don't know.
This is
yeah. That's the end of the movie.
That's it.
I'm done.
We
talking
did it.
About
We made it. And yes, we know her name's not really Toyota. It's Tatoya.
Yeah,
fuck you. We don't care.
I just wanted to make sure that y'all knew that.
I am done talking about the man with the streaming brain, but I think we definitely need to talk about the quality of Campbell.
Yes.
In our next segment, the quality of Campbell.
Yay.
But first, let's talk about Patreon. You can join our Groovy tier now for only $3, which includes monthly bonus episodes, early access to all Cult Talk Net podcasts, full-length audio watch-alongs, and access to our private Cult Talk Net Facebook community. Or you can join our Certified Groovy tier, now only $5 a month, which includes an additional Certified Groovy bonus episode, early recorded beta test podcast episodes on non-Campbell movies. That is patreon.com/culttalknet.
For our groovy tier in the month of July, the bonus episode that you get to enjoy is Cult Talks Gone Wild. The bonus episode where you get to know the cultists like never before, where we completely uncensor ourselves as we talk about whatever the fuck comes out of our mouths, be it movies, culture, ideas, and so much more. You get all this for only $3 a month.
And for the month of July, under the $5 Certified Groovy tier, you will get to hear as we discuss the 1995 would-be blockbuster, Congo, starring Tim Curry, Ernie Hudson, and of course, the one, the only, Bruce Campbell. All this for only $5 under the Certified Groovy tier.
And now, back to the show.
Yo, C-Bench. Let's go.
And we're back. So we just got to talk about the man with the screaming brain, and my brain is screaming because I'm done with this movie. Because I am done with this movie.
Please don't hate us.
Yeah.
Okay, so quality Campbell into groovy or not groovy.
So
Yes.
I am going. So talking about Bruce, when we're first introduced to Bruce, it's not likable Bruce at this first act because it's not fun. It's not fun. This first act is a chore.
It was.
Thankfully, in like the second and third act, we do get like some classic Bruce slapstick, but I just don't think it's done well enough or enough in general to really make me enjoy the movie that much more. But when he is on screen in the second and third act and he's doing the slapstick stuff, it is enjoyable.
Once it goes kind of full tilt into that stuff.
Yeah, once it fully leans into it, it's actually pretty fun. Well, you know, his moments on screen, the movie is not, but
Yeah.
his moments on screen, it's actually pretty fun. It was just interesting. It was weird because this is a full on Bruce project.
Right.
This is a Bruce Campbell film, like written, directed, produced, created, starring
Top to bottom.
Bruce Campbell. And it was just not done that well, in my opinion. I don't think he would even utilized himself well enough. And it could have been like maybe he was just had his hand in so many,
It could be.
so many pots that he couldn't focus on one. I don't know. But it was just, I don't know. It just wasn't done that great. And I did not like the Bulgarian setting. Well, I know we're not judging the movie, but I think that the setting to me just kind of took a lot of the fun out of the movie because it was not a very fun location. Like I know I read that like originally this was supposed to take place in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that would have been interesting. So you would have had like those weird Hollywood characters and stuff. I'm sure they could have done it.
Right.
But man, just Bruce was just not utilized that great. And
Which is funny because he didn't utilize himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But when he was able to, do the Bruce stuff, that Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, like slapstick,
Body horror comedy.
body comedy. Yeah, it was fun. What do you think, Eric?
So, I mean, and of course, we are talking about the quality of Bruce, not necessarily the movie, but I will say, you kind of hear that when you have a director who is also the star of the movie, either the directing is going to suffer or the acting is going to suffer. You also hear, now this looked like at least they had fun making it. It looked like a fun movie to work on. And
Well, sure. If you don't actually have to like make sure that if you don't have the responsibility to make sure all your shit lines up, I'm sure you can.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at is like, if it's a lot of fun to make, it's probably not a lot of fun to watch.
Right. Because there's a lot of stuff in this movie where I'm just like, why is this in here?
Yeah.
Who is this for?
Yeah, and I wonder I wonder how much of this was just
This movie's easily a solid 30 minutes too long.
I really feel like it suffered from the budget and stuff. And like we know he had 19 years of pitching this and
right.
Trying to get this movie made. There's 19 years of him doing this.
I should have tried 19 more.
I wonder if like after all that time he kind of strayed from some of that idea. 'Cause it was
Maybe
a
he
good
made
idea.
little tweaks here and there.
Wonder.
I
you know,
bet
can
it
only
was a lot.
speculate.
I really
Maybe.
want to read the comics.
Yeah.
I think now because I feel like that's going to be the more pure,
The more
vision.
faithful adaptation.
I certainly hope so.
Because you got to imagine, like even like that bar scene. Like take the bar scene in, for example.
Yeah.
Like probably when it was written, when you're writing something and you're visualizing it ahead, you're thinking of it the way you want to see it. Like when they were writing it went like enter bleak warehouse with 4 picnic tables, 7 guys stand around staring. No one really does much. It wasn't, probably in the script, it was like a big, bar scene. There's like a bunch of like, hey, what are you doing here, man? Like, a big fight escalates and, pool balls and sticks and bottles and, people getting thrown through like tables, like the old Western stuff. That's probably like way it was envisioned, but the budget came time to do it. And they're like, listen, all we can do is we get this shipping area in a warehouse.
Fold out tables.
We threw some fold out tables. There's some bottles of vodka on the wall, and we hung up some beer posters.
There
That's
you
what
have
got to work
bar.
with. Yeah, you have bar. Yeah, again, like it's hard not to talk about the movie,
Yeah,
especially in this aspect, because we are doing the quality of Campbell,
and he's all over this.
and
thing.
Bruce Campbell is responsible for everything.
I was going to say, in this unique case, I think that the movie itself,
in this unique case, if we're talking about the quality of Campbell,
that's everything.
it's everything. Yeah. Bruce Campbell is this film. This is a Bruce Campbell film in the purest sense of the word.
Yeah. It is.
Because this is directed, like he covers all the bases of this. And we read an interesting fact, and I don't know if it's a fact. Bruce Campbell apparently bought up thousands or hundreds of the unsold VHS copies and insulated his house with them.
Used them as insulation in his house.
And if that is true,
So listen, all of you
great.
out there listening right now, who I'm sure there's a few of you that if you've made it this far, are just absolutely frothing at the mouth. But when your own writer, producer, director, star is using that shit as insulation, you cut me some fucking slack.
right. Give us a break. We watched it. Okay.
Yes.
I just think. Oh yeah, Ben. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you think of the quality of Campbell in this movie? I'm gonna put you right on the spot.
So
Just taking a minute. Just taking a breath.
okay, so where this movie suffers is the first half. The first half of this movie drains it like a stuck pig. I mean, it brings everything to a grinding halt. It introduces you to an area you're not going to like with characters you're not going to like. It doesn't set up it doesn't give you any promises of what's to come.
Right.
Like if you had that scene where she stabs the guy, right? That's the opening scene we open up with. If you had like, say she stabs him and she like misses and it takes him a while to die and like she's running around the apartment stabbing him and you do some slapstick shit while he's trying to get away. And you're like, hey, by the way, this is going to be dark but slapsticky, and then you open up to them at the airport and you play that serious. That's at least a promise to your audience
That it's gonna get.
this is slapsticky. It's coming.
You're right.
But instead, this fucking film just cold opens and is cold through so much of it. But by the time you get to it, you're just like, this is too fucking little, too fucking late, my friend. Quality of Campbell, man, listen, this sucked.
yeah.
And again, this is not a critique of a B movie. This is a critique of a film.
No.
And the script doesn't work. The
It
scenery
wasn't
work.
fun. It wasn't like a fun. There wasn't even like really any moments because there's bad movies you watch and you have fun watching them because it's like
we've had a lot of fun watching some bad movies.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. There's some bad movies we watch here in like Cult of Campbell. That are actually some of my favorite ones we've watched because of how fun the experience was.
This opening just was simply just not entertaining.
It certainly didn't set the proper tone. For
And
what
I
we
got
were
to
in
tell
for.
you, like anybody that even like 1/3 of the film, you're going to be so pissed.
Oh yeah.
And again, I'm going to reiterate because I think I said it during the filming, but you people, you know who you are on IMDb. That's like, oh, this is funnier than Bubba Hotep. Listen, don't procreate.
There are some delusional Campbellites out there. I think
you can love him, you can appreciate the effort, but like, come on.
I know one of the things I said, like when we started Cult of Campbell and we came up with the groovy, not groovy criteria, I thought to myself, like, it's going to suck because I know there's no way I'm going to watch a Bruce Campbell film and be able to give it a not groovy.
Oh,
in my head, I was like, man, this sucks. We got this criteria because I'm going to be just like,
you're just always going to feel like a yes man,
pandering Campbellite. But like after watching these movies, we've watched a few now where I've given my not groovy rating to, or begrudgingly. But I see there are some movies where you got to look at it and you got to say this isn't Army of Darkness.
Right.
This isn't Bubba Hotep.
This isn't even the X-Files.
This is the X-Files.
No,
Bruce
not even the
has
X-Files,
some bad films, and you got to be able to admit that.
Yeah.
They can't all be Ash vs. Evil Dead. It's not. But
And quite frankly, in my opinion, it waters down when he has really good performances.
Right.
If you're saying that everything is gold, well, then none of it is.
Right, exactly. Because there are some really high value performances that he really puts on it, and if we just laud them all based on those, then you're right. Like then none of them are great at that point.
Right.
Like which ones stand out? That's what we're looking
Exactly.
for. Is what's standing out from Bruce? I really hate the way that we feel about this movie because I love Bruce and he has apparently put a lot into this, like a lot of his time. I mean, he struggled to get it made for 19
years. He wanted it to be made, and it just sucks that this is what came out of that.
And he's a hard-working guy. Like he puts a lot into his career, for the sake of doing it because he loves it.
It's that cold opening, man. I'm telling you, all that time that we spent watching them do dick and squat was time that we could have spent in the lab explaining some of this shit.
Right.
That first act was just not fun. It's bad when you're watching a movie and your only concern is how much is left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're 20 minutes.
We frequently were like checking the runtime and like just wanting this over because it was just not a fun experience. And
and by the time I realized I was starting to enjoy it, I was like, oh, and it's got 15 minutes left.
Yeah, right. That's the thing is like towards the end, it started getting really good. Like that's where it started getting to be like, this is what we watch Bruce Campbell for.
Yeah,
that's the juice.
Yeah, there's the juice right there. Yeah.
But
you're right. It was the Bruce. The Bruce.
Yeah, but by the time you get to that, you're like, this is such a monumental piece of shit. It's hard for me to care.
Yeah, it just came in too late. They should have combined their brains much sooner. Give them like one or two scenes at the beginning to show that, okay, they don't get along. We fucking get it, and we're going to get it when they're together in this skull.
Right. And again, if you made him security instead of a cab driver, that's more excuses to have scenes because they had surprisingly few scenes together before that. And half of it was spent arguing communism to capitalism
versus capitalism,
which did not play whatsoever. And I know, and God damn it, this movie turned me into a hypocrite because like when they first started talking about the communism, I'm like, oh, please God, don't let this be a major point in the film. But what I didn't expect for them to never fucking touch it again.
No, you would have thought like I thought they were like even Eric said when we seen that he was Eric guessed that the cabbie and him were get put in the same body and they're going to be arguing capitalism and communism. And as painful as that sounds, it would have been more interesting.
I know.
I would have
wished that they had.
I would have preferred it because at least there would have been a through line.
There would have been something. There would have been something there. There would have been something.
Boy,
but, man. So I think we should just give our ratings here. And like I said, like this, we always say we're not reviewing the movie, but I think in this instance
we can get away with that because
this is the Bruce Campbell film.
In this particular rare case, it's his baby. So
I'm gonna go ahead and give it a not groovy because I was just so disappointed. Like it was if you listen to watch along on our Patreon at Cult Talk Net, you will hear like very early on in the movie, I was just like, I have a feeling this is gonna be a bad movie. Like it was, we were like 5 minutes in. I was like, I think this might be a bad.
And to hear Ty of all people say that, is
Ty loves
scary.
him. Yeah. And listen, folks. Like if you haven't gotten this already, Ty loves him some bad movies.
Oh,
I do.
Like you ever have that friend that's like, can we go to McDonald's? And you're like, you shouldn't do that. That's Ty.
I've said like many times, I am a movie possum because that
is the most perfect description I think I've ever heard.
Jaws is like my favorite movie of all time, and that's a generally good movie.
That's a masterpiece.
But I can't watch Jaws like any day. Any day I can throw on, Mega Mantis versus Crocopiller. I don't know.
I could watch. So
I could throw on that at any point, and I would be just content. I'd be happy.
See, Jaws is one of those movies I could have in the background while I'm fucking. It's such a good movie.
Jaws. If Jaws comes on, I have to stop and I have to watch. If Jaws, I have to stop and I have to watch. But if I'm watching, just fucking like
no. So I have
whatever. I can watch those.
There's movies I can watch anytime. Movies that are so good you have to pay attention, and then there are movies that I'm like they're so good that you can pay attention or have them in the background, and they just are automatically fine.
Yeah. Right.
Jaws is one of those movies that I can have in the background and be like, it just automatically is better culture.
Yes.
Whether or not I'm paying attention.
Right.
Right.
But you know,
This
like,
movie, if I had to pick a circumstance to play this movie, it would probably be like if you had to pick like a circumstance in life to have this playing in the background, it'd probably be a battlefield abortion.
Battlefield. There you go. There you go. Sounds about accurate.
Oh no.
That's about accurate.
God. And with
I
that,
wonder
I'm gonna have
what
to say
rating will
not
be.
groovy.
Yeah, like
I would.
I like bad movies, but like I have standards when it comes to bad movies. Like there's gotta be there's a certain charm to a bad good movie. Like
Right.
a good bad movie. There's movies that are just bad, and this was just bad.
See, I'm much more forgiving on bad movies when it's like a creature feature. Like if you want to,
Yeah, but
if you want to
those
watch
are-
Luke
those are
Diamond
fun.
Phillips Bats,
Yeah.
I love that shit.
That's good though. It's like that's a fun one because like it's a fun concept and there's like stuff going on.
Yeah.
There's like the Lou Diamond Phillips trying to play a Texas sheriff.
And also, Lou Diamond Phillips is just amazing.
Oh yeah.
He's one of those ones.
Creature features are done. Like there's bad creature features, but if you're watching a creature feature, they're fun. Like you're able to have fun with the concept. But there was just no concept to have fun with, and that's why I had to give it a not groovy. But Eric, what do you think here? I mean, what do you say about
Well,
this?
this is going to surprise everybody when I give my verdict, but what we're looking at here is just like if we had seen the last 15 minutes of that movie more, you know what I mean? If there had been more of that throughout this movie, I would have given it a groovy, hands down. And I really hate to do this. And I want to see some other things that he's directed to kind of compare to this and see, I just not groovy. I not groovy. I hate to say
Not
that.
groovy?
I hate it. But yeah, certified not groovy, guys.
Certified not groovy.
I want to know what you like about it.
Yes,
maybe you
yes.
can.
I'd be
reframe
very
this for me.
interested.
Yeah, like I'm not being like, what the hell do you like about this?
Yeah,
like, reframe this for me.
What kind of mental defect you
Yeah.
got? that makes
I-
you feel
I-
about it?
So I do. I'm going to be a tad bit not gatekeepy, but I'm gonna narrow down the criteria. Listen, if you're commenting, tell us what you like about this film. Leave your fucking comments about big budget films at home.
right?
Yes.
I've seen that in IMDb and all the other reviews where they're like, if you like big budget movies, stay home. Okay,
Right.
fuck you. That's not an argument.
Budget doesn't impact story.
It
No,
does
it
not.
doesn't.
It
No,
does
it
not. You can have a movie that has absolutely no budget and can tell a fantastic story.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's been done plenty of times.
Bubba
I've seen it
Hotep
done.
didn't have much of a. And I'll keep
No, it
referring back to that because that's the best one of
So,
his I've seen so
Let's
far.
see. So
Right,
let's
right.
see.
That is a really good movie.
That's an interesting point. So let's see here. So
Are you
we know
looking
that Man with the Streaming Brain had a budget of
Of 3 million. And I know
I'm
that's
pretty sure
that-
that's way more than what.
Oh, is it really?
Is it
What
way
Bubba Hotep-
more?
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah,
he's looking it up,
yeah.
the
So
budget
Bubba
for it.
Hotep only had a budget of 1 million. So
1 million.
Bubba Hotep was made on
and we
1/3
loved
the
the
budget
fuck out
of
of
Yeah,
Bubba
so
This is
please,
not a
please
budget
come
thing.
up give actual reasons why you
Yeah,
like this.
because
film.
it doesn't impact. You can. I've seen plenty of like low budget films out there that are. It's a very low budget, and they're able to tell a good story. There's a movie called The Battery. It's a zombie film,
Uh-huh.
and it's just about these two guys, and that's all the movie is. There's zombies that come in later, but the majority of the film is these two guys. They used to be on a softball team together. They were traveling. The zombie apocalypse happened. They're trying to get back to where they're from.
Yeah.
And they're like polar opposites. And that's the battery, plus and minus.
Oh, I see. I see.
And that's why it's called The Battery. And it is tremendous. And it's made on a shoestring budget, and they tell a great story and two compelling characters, and it's phenomenal. Like you don't have to have a huge budget to crank
Yeah.
out a good story.
I saw one that was called Scenic Route.
Oh yeah, Secret. That's a good one.
And that you could do that with a budget of $10.
Yeah, yeah.
And that story was phenomenal.
But
I don't care for
There's-
the ambiguous ending that they had at the end.
and
I
and,
digress.
and to
But-
go on that point, like there's big budget movies that have fucking awful stories.
Oh
There-
yes.
yeah,
Oh
yes.
yes.
Why don't you look at Uwe Boll's House of the Dead?
And
Tell me that budget has to do with a quality story.
right.
I'll go one better than that. The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That fucking budget was beyond
Oh.
ridiculous. And that storyline, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you could have written better on toilet paper.
I mean,
One
so,
square.
yeah,
Yeah, the battery was made for $6,000. The one,
$6,000.
the one I'm thinking of.
Birds of Prey had a giant script, and that story was garbage.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
come out with something
yeah,
besides.
because you got to look at the
Budget.
enjoyability and like
Right.
if you're comparing even like this role of William Cole was his name. I looked up his name. William Cole was who Bruce Campbell played.
There we go.
There's no way this character can stand next to any other Bruce Campbell character. 'Cause it is not fun. Like there's a concept there.
And a good one.
There is
was
a good concept.
idea.
Two clashing personalities in the same body. That's
Right.
interesting. That's an interesting narrative. That's an
Right.
interesting plot point. Not done properly here though.
No, not
And that's
not
sad
at all.
because it did take 19 years for us to get made, and then you get this flop.
I really wanted to like this one.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah, and I didn't know anything. I had not
Neither
heard
did I.
a plot synopsis, nothing.
Right.
The
I
mo-
deliberately went into this one fresh because I was
Completely
yeah.
cold.
Yeah.
The most I'd ever, the most I knew of this movie is I've seen like a quick 30-second trailer from Sci-Fi like 16 years ago, and I'm familiar with the poster because I see the poster on a lot of
Right.
Bruce stuff because the poster is like very.
So,
comic.
but yeah, I am interested, and I know there's going to be a lot of talk like comedy subjective, and that's all true.
right.
And I'm not saying only post this, but I'm specifically interested in people that want to tell me what they liked about the story.
yes.
That's what I
Right.
really want somebody that's going to defend the story to this.
Yeah, tell us why this plot isn't
Right.
intriguing because I don't really know. There was nothing really gripping about it, and it was
it wasn't even consistent.
no.
Yeah,
there
the
was
characters
a
weren't very
concept
redeemable.
there.
It was a good concept.
There was a concept. and
I
it just
liked
fell
the
flat.
performance by the robot. Lady doing
Yes,
her
that
thing.
was good.
Like,
The person with no personality or face. did
yes,
fantastic.
yeah. Ugh.
God damn it.
But yeah, definitely let
there
us
you have
know. I want to hear everyone's opinion on Man with the Screaming Brain because it is like this is if you look at Bruce filmography, this is the purest Bruce Campbell film you'll find.
right.
And we're giving it not groovy, and I would be interested to hear what everyone else thinks about it. And can you look at this subjectively and
Right.
take yourself out of the Campbell fandom? Because that's what I had to do for this.
Yeah.
I consider myself to be a pretty big Campbellite, but I know what good Campbell is.
Yeah.
And this was not good Campbell. I'm willing to admit that. So, it was like Eric said, I wanted to like it because how much involvement Bruce had in this.
Yeah. How much he put into it.
Yeah, you really want to honor him.
And so get his project off the ground, but
And he got it done. Yeah.
it did not come out that great.
Man, I gotta tell you how disappointing it is to be like fought for this movie for 19 years, but you retired on Ash, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Brother. Okay.
But
I mean, it's your career. You do as you see fit, but damn.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave you guys at that. Let us know what you guys think of Me at the Streaming Brain in the comments
Yeah,
on our
go
YouTube.
ahead and yell at us for
Cult
hate.
Yeah,
Talk Net.
absolutely.
We'll
Barbecue
take
us.
it.
It's fine.
Yeah. We know it's coming. It really is okay. We
At Cult
we tried
Talk
to like
Net,
it.
yeah.
We've got
But
Cult Talk
try to watch it again if you are like, how could they show this? Watch it subjectively.
Right.
And
We've got thick skin, but also be respectful to everybody else.
Yes. Yeah. I don't want a bunch of arguments between you guys. Like we should all,
yeah, we're all
united in the love of
Campbellites.
Campbell.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And we allow the bad performances to better lift up the good.
Absolutely. That's
So-
correct.
Yeah, so I will give you if you were to ask, I could give you a list of 10 films that or 10 performances that topple this in every sense. But
Absolutely.
from
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell. But
Sure.
anyways, let us know what you guys think in the comments on our YouTube at Cult Talk Net. Make sure you subscribe there. Make sure you head over to our Instagram at Cult Talk Net, where you can let us know your opinions and what you guys think of this film and other films. And make sure you check out our Patreon if you have time. If you want to, you can go check out our Patreon at Cult Talk Net.
Yep. We would love your support.
Yes,
Even though
love
you
your
might not
support.
feel like giving it right now.
Yes. But if you go to our Patreon, you will find some bonus episodes.
That's right.
We have a lot of bonus content on there. We do a monthly bonus episode that is Patreon exclusive.
Yeah.
You also find a watch along for everything we do.
Yeah.
If we record an episode, you'll find a watch along.
Watch
there.
along with it.
Yeah.
You can do the same here for Man at the Screaming Brain. If you want to hear our live reactions to our first time watching this film,
Right.
you can check that out on our Patreon where we have the watch along loaded. And also, you'll find our early beta episodes we did,
Oh yeah.
which are very interesting.
You can tear us apart just like we tore apart this movie.
Yes, we we recorded some non-Campbell beta episodes we
Yep.
recorded while we were preparing to launch this podcast. We do the Cult of Bacon where we reviewed Tremors, the Cult of Cage where we do
Willy's
Ghost
Wonderland.
Rider,
Willy's
Ghost
Wonderland.
Rider
Oh, that's
and
good.
Willy's Wonderland,
Yep.
and a couple other movies over there you can find. Just
Arnold
early
Schwarzenegger's
betas.
Predator is on there.
Predator.
Yeah.
I believe Snakes on a Plane will be on there as well.
Oh, I would love. Did you guys do Snakes on
We
the
did
Plane
Snakes
already?
on a Plane,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can find those on our Patreon. Just go over and subscribe if you would. We'd greatly appreciate it. But until then, I think we just need to let you guys make sure we remind you guys
Stay groovy.
Never fuck with the king. That's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.